Next, let's queer up health. Study shows that anti-LGBTQ plus attacks have created LGBTQ plus health crisis. This year, several states have proposed legislation aimed at restricting the rights of transgender individuals and other members of the LGBTQ plus community. Legislators in multiple states are seeking to redefine sex based on reproductive capacity. However, these bills are facing opposition and haven't so far made significant progress. According to the ACLU, only 5 anti-LGBTQ+ bills have become law this year. Additionally, states notorious for advancing such legislation, such as Florida, Utah, and West Virginia, have concluded their legislative sessions for the year without passing further restrictive measures. However, these endeavors could have devastating consequences for the well-being of transgender adults. Medical experts express concern over the potential long-term harm in terms of physical and mental health that these political movements that push to limit LGBTQ+ rights will cause. Dr. Streed, president of the Professional Association for Transgender Youth, says that anti-trans policy will exacerbate prevalent issues like isolation, limited participation in public life, and hypertension, and subsequently increase the likelihood of heart attacks and strokes. Additionally, isolation correlates with diminished cognitive function and memory loss, compounding the adverse effects on overall well-being. This explains what Florida's LGBTQ+ youth must be going through, as Ron DeSantis never fails to create perplexing anti-LGBTQ+ policies that aim at instilling fear. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's not wrong. I mean, these things are basically, these laws are created to induce anxiety in minority groups, whichever one they're aiming at. I mean, their goal is not to make these laws workable. Their goal is to make these laws on the books so that they can have an excuse to prosecute you or persecute you, actually, in this case.
Well, yeah, I mean, DeSantis just caved on don't say gay last week when he said, okay, you can say gay under a lot of circumstances in court. But that law and its analogs have all been enforced through fear. Mm-hmm. Through fear of the state school board of education, fear of being fired, fear of losing your job, and the consequence not being there for your students. Right. So that's what this law, how it has been enforced. And so it's striking to a certain extent that how bad the situation has been in the last couple of 3 years, that only 5 states have enacted anti-LGBTQ+ laws this year, and we're considering that a win.
So, as an MPH holder and also as a survivor advocate, there's a book out there called The Body Keeps Score, and it basically talks about how trauma quite literally is stored within our body. And this segment and this study that Bobby was talking about is exactly that. Yes, it's not individual trauma as in like an intimate partner violence or domestic violence case, but this is specifically violence enacted by the state. And that can 100% also cause trauma within our bodies, which then lead to the health conditions you were talking about, like high blood pressure, like disposition for anxiety, like depression, like disposition to certain diseases, like that all like compounds to one. And that's why we as LGBT people have higher health disparities than other. It also
leads us to to relieve our anxiety through unhealthy habits. For example, controlled substance usage, or, for example, a lot of members in the community smokes for a variety of reasons. But more to the point is that, I mean, there are, I'm not trying to trivialize any kind of trauma, but, you have your intimate partner, abuse you can send him away to prison. But a law like this turns every state official, from the local police officer all the way to the governor, into a weapon that can be turned against you. just like
And this has also, I remember one of these laws was basically aimed at our drag community.
Well, I would also say though that this state like violence also trickles down to intimate partner violence. I've been in intimate partners violence relationships because of those laws, because it instills hate in people, and like so like from like a state level, like yes, that a lot is happening there, but it could also lead to individual cases of violence, which again perpetrate the violence.
It seems interesting to me, not to like dumb it down, but so my brain kind of thinks about a lot of stuff when we have conversations and how do we get people to understand our plight and what we're going through. We've all been to middle school. We all know what it's like to be bullied, and you know what it's like not to want to go to school the next day. So let's just advance that to every aspect of your life. Imagine having to go to the grocery store and being afraid what people are going to say or think because the laws are in their favor to discriminate against you, right? So anybody who's watching this, it's not just about, you know, you can relate to it in one way or another. I'm sure you went to school and had an issue and didn't want to go to school the next day. Just imagine that every part of your life. And I think that's obvious, a minimalization of it, but it's an example I think we can all relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that the youth at Sunshine Pride House are experiencing.
And that's why we really felt that the flight model would apply to young people, because as Jasmine said, our young people who go through the foster care system come from that background of trauma. Once we know that a youth is coming from a history of trauma, and we're now applying these types of services and measures to be able to help, we know that it's going to work because we're dealing with the most traumatized segment of the population, and we have to really build services around that. Unfortunately, the trauma is so high. Unfortunately, our young people are so rejected and just have nowhere else to turn to. They have nowhere else to go to feel safe or to feel embraced or any of those things, So then for us on our end, we're looking at it as this is leading to a whole homelessness crisis, right? Like it's contributing to these compounding issues that are going on in our community. And instead of being problem solving based, it's just inciting more, chaos and more hate and just more trauma on top of it,
Of course, many states are still in session for this year for their lawmakers, for their legislators. We will continue to follow all of their hopefully non-hateful procedures, but we are going to stay on top of this as we go forward.